We think the most important thing you can do for yourself is to protect your confidence. And one of the things that we encourage you to do on a weekly basis is Sunday night planning. And the very first thing you do in Sunday night planning is to grab the wins from the previous week.
What if you could step out of the day-to-day and see your business from a whole new perspective? Welcome to Above the Business, where we empower you to rise above the daily grind and embrace a higher way of business ownership. Get ready to build your business by design. Are you an agency owner looking to better understand your financials and take charge of your tax bill? Well, Club Capital is here to help. As the largest accounting and advisory firm for insurance agency owners in the country, they are way more than your everyday run-of-the-mill CPA. Club Capital provides financial, CFO, and tax advisory services to help you plan and forecast your financial success. You'll meet every month to review your agency's financial performance, the difference between your profit and actual cash flow, along with helping you better understand your bottom line. Visit club.capital to book a solution overview with one of our business consultants. Club Capital, way more than a CPA firm.
Hey, everyone. Well, in the last episode, we spent time talking about leading ourselves first and specifically sharing the idea not just of leading ourselves first, but of intentional versus unintentional consumption of content and why that desire for us to seek momentum as entrepreneurs is really universal across the board. While we're completely different people with very different, wildly different skill sets, there is almost this normal principle that seems to ring true across all small business owners and entrepreneurs that we're all seeking to try to find some form of momentum. We want to find momentum in the business. And there's a few different ways to begin to do that. And I shared one of the ways not to do it is in the seeking and just consuming content, because chemicals are actually released that make us think that we're making forward progress when we're consuming content, when the reality is we're actually not. You know that feeling whenever we're just spending time, spinning our wheels, basically, and we're going nowhere. Well, that's what we want to try to get away from in 2024 is consuming content that's specifically going to help us. Now, again, there's a lot of different content out there. I love golf, I love basketball, I love college sports, etc. Again, I'm not here to preach around that kind of content. What I am here to preach, though, and you've heard me say many times, the value, and maybe I shouldn't even say preach, maybe I actually should use the word evangelize, is evangelizing the message of being intentional with some of the business content that we're taking in. That goes even as far as the programs and the coaching that we invest in, including myself. Because there has been so many times that I have invested in coaching, and that, what I was going to say a moment ago, is still one of the best investments that I've ever made is in my own development. But what is not said there is the tens of thousands of dollars that I have invested unintentionally. This comes true whenever you hear someone who has gone to a Tony Robbins event, which I love Tony Robbins. I've only seen him once, and it wasn't even a full Tony Robbins event. But the people that you've heard that have gone to a Tony Robbins event 12 times, or the ones that go from conference to conference to conference to conference, seemingly seeking a silver bullet. We go from one program or one methodology to another methodology, etc., seeking something. But the reality is what ends up becoming is just the consumption of content becomes where we get the feeling of forward momentum as opposed to the application of that content. So whether it's my program, Blueprint, David's program, and so many incredible other coaches and consultants, whether it's in the insurance industry or just business in general, there are so many amazing programs, and they all can work. But they typically all come at things from a slightly different angle. What is the real problem that you feel like, or the obstacle? Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's just a bottleneck, a constraint, a problem that you're wanting to solve in 2024 for you and possibly for the business. And then identifying that and then seeking out help in that particular area. David, as an example, has an incredible program for insurance agency owners and their teams. And there's other programs that approach things from a slightly different perspective or a slightly different angle, or maybe even from a completely different angle. The point is, seeking out content intentionally was the point of last week's message. I want to add one other thing. The second thing that we want to do is the allocation of our time. And I mentioned this previously around the preloaded year, but there's a couple other things I want to share. And that is that looking at our week and how we're going to spend our time on a weekly basis, we call that the perfect, repeatable week. And the words there are intentionally used. There is no week that's perfect. I have not had a week that has been absolutely perfect and looked exactly like my perfect, repeatable week. But we do look at that to allocate when certain things are going to be done, when certain appointments, when things are going to be recorded based on my own energy rhythms. See, there's a couple principles. What's the most important thing you can do for yourself, your team, and the business? Well, we think the most important thing you can do for yourself is to protect your confidence. And one of the things that we encourage you to do on a weekly basis is Sunday night planning. And the very first thing you do in Sunday night planning is to grab the wins from the previous week. That's why if you have been with anything that we've done with Above the Business or any of my programs, the very first thing that we do is to grab the wins. And that's not just a good idea. It's because wins in business are hard to come by. Just like winning football games in the SEC is hard to come by, winning in business is hard to come by. And so it's much of a reminder for myself to celebrate the wins and the progress that I've made. Because if I didn't, I would only focus on the negative. And I'm sure many of you are the same way. What's the most important thing you can do for your team is to give them your energy, but you can't give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. And so allocating when are you going to do appointments at the best time? When are you going to meet with your team? What's the best time for you is one of the most honoring things that you can actually do, is looking at your week and spending that time that you're going to be working in, on, or above the business intentionally so you can show up as the very best version of yourself. And what's the most important thing for you to do for the business? Well, in my opinion, it's to think about the business. My all-time favorite business book is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And that book, which came out in 2018, was a linchpin moment for me to realize that I needed to spend more time thinking about the business. I think it's the most important thing we can do for the business is spend time thinking about the business. That perfect, repeatable week and some other structure, process, and routine, not just for the business, but for us personally, is what I'd love to help you to go through. The mindset, skill set, tool set of developing a personal operating system, which helps us to go from being the rainmaker of the business to become the architect of our business and of our life so that we can build the business that we ultimately had in our dreams or have in our dreams, the big vision that we have. And to create massive momentum for 2024 in the business, I think it starts with us. And so I'd love to work with you one-on-one to help you to be able to do that, to connect December, the work you did in December with your annual plan, to connect that to January so you can make forward progress, true, meaningful forward progress in the business. Go to abovethebusiness.co. You'll find some information about the January kickoff. It's going to be on January the 18th. That's on a Thursday. We're going to start at 12 Central, go for about 90 minutes. And it's going to be an action-packed 90 minutes, but we're going to absolutely get things done. We're going to try to create and bottle some momentum for you personally so that we can begin to make forward progress on the big objectives, the goals, the targets we have, the priorities that we have set out for 2024. I'd love to work with you. Abovethebusiness.co. I hope this episode served you. Even if you don't attend our event, I hope this podcast have served you. Cheers to a great 2024. I hope it's the best year yet for you personally and for your business. Until next episode, lead well.
You know how important it is to develop yourself and to develop your team. Well, if you're going to do that, you want to do it with the best. Work with Coach P Consulting to learn and implement the same strategies that he used to sell over 700 life policies in 2021 alone. You'll get personalized coaching 2 times a week and an in-depth look at how his office is run. And Coach P will train your team alongside his own. Get your first month free when you mention the Club Capital Leadership Podcast during sign up. Visit CoachPconsulting.com to get started.